Yeah, I want to. I've made an observation, and is that when you're going on any journey, you're on a road. This road, it's unthinkable that it can all be smooth. You will have potholes, you will have broken places, and you have bumps and all the like. So, what are some of the potholes or bad places of the road that you can pinpoint with the new presentation of the WWE? Because I want to think that it's not a smooth ride. Yeah, the road is not all that smooth. I want to say. So, what are some of these rough places of the road and corners, blind corners on this wonderful journey?
Well, there's always going to be the unknown. And actually, that's the most interesting part because that's about a wake up. Everything we're doing here is to wake up, to recognize the is. Even though people think whatever they do, that's a process in creation that people decide. That becomes a difference, okay? And many people think just because whatever they think or decide that that's it. Okay, this is my life. And it is until you see more than that. Um, I use the movies as good examples. And one of the movies I've always liked is The Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston. And that shows how this individual, and yes, it's Hollywood, but it's fun. I like the Hollywood thing, and it makes it romantic, so it's all fine. It's how you see it. And here's an individual that's held true to himself, no matter what he went through, and as he recognized certain things, it was recognition. It's not about his birth or the cloth that he saw that was Hebrew or whatever. It's not about those things. These are the created distortions that we have here, all right? And it's to see through those things also because we've created these things, just like we've created clothes or whatever. And so, but he's held true, you know, to, you might say, the very end, to the end of the movie anyhow, but there is no end. And so, a demonstration would be on the real side, just what you're referring to, the potholes or whatever. If that were to be considered, which it is already there, you don't even have to consider it because the world is a challenge. So there's a lot of potholes out there. I would say that the boys would do something of a demonstration like where there's a road, and I've seen them do this many times, where they're repairing the road, they're repairing the potholes, or they're creating the new road. You see? I've seen that many times because they're creating it, they're getting it ready. They got it ready for me to a certain point. And then from there, it's almost like they stopped. And then they just look at me. It's like, okay, now you decide. Okay, you decide what's next. We brought it to you. In other words, just like, the university there and the physical, a college or university is an example. Because once you get out of high school, for the most part, we're forced into going to school. So, but at a certain point after school, after the 12 grades, we make the choice. So somebody built the school or university, didn't they? They took the time to build all that and get that going, and all the routine that's involved with what is taking place there. So now you step up, and it's up to you to decide, the courses you're going to take and, the career, etc., and all these things, how you're going to work this situation. And so, yes, again, the world is a challenge. It is, it is a desperate challenge, you might say, and people will become more desperate. And we're the only ones, basically, that make sense in this world. Realistically, we are. And everybody's thinking that too. All these different paths. If it's, if it's a corporation, Eckankar, Gia, Tony Robbins, David Icke, whatever, Alex Jones, the President of the United States, the Queen of England, the Pope, whatever. They're all thinking the same thing. Of course, we have the answer for you, blah, blah, blah. Do they? Let life show you. So again, so I see that too. I see the obstacles. I'm constantly dealing with them, and they see us on the real side too. The cabal and the one world order, etc. They see us on the real side too, and this is where many times that the individual's experiences are disguised. Just like in the movies we see where, if it's, James Bond or something, or some other character movie we see where they're doing disguises like The Saint with Val Kilmer or what have you. He's doing all these disguises to get into certain places to be able to do certain things, and just like Tom Cruise and Mission Impossible, and there are many, many other ones, Arnold Schwarzenegger and whatever. I like these adventure movies because I always like to see what the person will decide and what they have to deal with and what they will do when they're confronted with these things, when they're caught and whatever, and tortured even, whatever. And so, because this is what we've been through, this is creation. It's become very real to us. And creation is what it is. And so, yes, all these obstacles, these potholes or whatever, again, everything is workable. It's how you see it. It's really how you see it. And many times, I've had demonstrations on the real side. An old one is to where, it's like when Chris, when he went through boot camp, one of the things is to, get over the wall. You usually climb up a rope net to get over the wall. Well, I saw on the real side, and this is one of the older ones, and many like it, to where I'm on this road that's gradually going up to the sun, but on the left side, there's these people trying to get over these walls. And so that's their choice. In other words, they're seeing it from a literal point of view, trying to get on their way over these walls, when all they have to do is step aside from it a little bit here or there, just step back and step aside and take a look at it. And it's like, you know what? I really don't have to do it this way. There's always another way to do it. You can shortcut it. You see, there are shortcuts. There's always another way. So, yes, again, this is where I look at the world, and it doesn't matter what's going on in the world. It doesn't matter to me, because, again, it's free will. I have to respect free will. Otherwise, I become a tyrant, like the tyrants of the world. They don't respect free will. They manipulate people, and what they create, which looks good, even Walt Disney, Walt Disney was hired by the cabal to create deception and entertainment. Gee, did the Indians have entertainment? Yeah, they did some dances and hung around and had fun together, but not according to what's created here. And it was purposely conceived deception because Disney was a Mason. He was with the Illuminati and the elites, etc., like all the presidents and everybody else. They've all been there. This is the world controlling system. They want to keep the slaves and the human farming in order. This is what they do. And so, they're very creative, and people think, like Microsoft and whatever, they're all bought off. We do use their system. Skype is Microsoft, Bill Gates, and they're spying on us. Every time they do an update or upgrade, hey, the system's already working. Okay, it's already working fine. What are they putting into it? More spyware. That's what they're putting into it. It's more spyware, different ways to spy on you. They want to keep everybody, in a certain position, and eventually hold everything against them. And again, you don't have to agree with that. Everybody's fine. As we go along here, we creatively share things, and people get a better understanding, especially of the monetary system that tries to control people. It is not what it seems to be at all. And you can walk right around it once you know how. So again, those are the challenges. And it's okay, because it's creation. Everything is like a block of clay. Okay, you made something out of it. You made a little soldier or a doll or a statue. But then you can smash it down to the little square piece of clay it was originally when you got it in the mail or wherever you got it from, the teacher. And you can reform it. You see, that's how creation is. And the real purpose of creation is a reference to the true reality life is, to recognize it. That is the real purpose of creation. But people forget why they came here. They came here to wake up, not to be lovely and look good in high heels and short dresses, and to, wine and dine at the finest restaurants. Hey, that's all fine too. But if you spend your life doing that, pretty soon you're old and you look in the mirror, it's like, gee, what happened? It goes fast. It goes really fast. And what have you gained? You forgot why you got here. The reason you came here, if you use that idea, the real purpose was to wake up and recognize there's something else. So, what I've created here, which has taken me a lot to figure out myself because it's huge, is, a privilege. I've always seen it. I've always been grateful in this lifetime, and this is why I came here. But I too had to go through the unconsciousness to wake up, and eventually I recognized, and ever since I came in 1970 with Paul, that the only reason that I'm doing what I do is because I'm always grateful for what I have recognized. It's gratitude. And so the challenges of the world, again, I see that. I don't focus on the potholes and all the stuff and whatever, because again, it's free will. And this is where you need to understand all the pieces that add up to the bigger picture, just like a 1,000-piece puzzle. You can't just take one piece and say, oh, I see it. No, you don't. That's just part of those are the pieces. And understanding the pieces, this is why we've come through so many lifetimes, to put all the pieces together, but not to become self-convinced and to restrict this reality thinking. That a lot of so many people come to this and go, well, what Duane's talking about, the isness, this is just another God. It's the same as God. It's not at all. It's night and day. And what's so cool and unique and awesome about, and those words don't even describe because they don't mean nothing, is that it's a position that cannot be considered. So when you can recognize it for what it is, that it cannot be considered, then you're on your way, because it cannot. And anything you consider about it, it's not it. That's very real. And so I'm being very honest and honorable and upfront with what I'm saying. I'm not creating sacred writings or all this nonsense. I'm just simply creating a reference that makes sense to the wholeness life is. It just simply makes sense. And this is what life is now. Life itself, you might say, decides. Just like the sun shining, it decides. And so until a person stops deciding what life is and starts to recognize what it really is and sees it how life sees itself. See, that's the biggie. How is it that life sees itself? Can you do that? Can you decide that and to see it? Yeah, but for the most part, most people want to decide how life is. Well, they are in the personal sense, and they don't see that objectively about themselves and learning to see how others see things. So again, the free will. And the free will is being interfered with here. That's why the world, that's why the creations of the world come out distorted like they do. Even though they look good, like cake and candy, etc., it all looks good, but it's all poison. It's made to look good, but it's all poison. Take a little time to investigate the ingredients of that good-looking thing, and you decide if you want to eat it. I'm not saying not to. Sometimes we all have a bite, or I have some potato chips. Whatever, yes, okay? That's the world. We all need a little thrill once in a while, but there's a bigger view. So these obstacles, they're really not there. Creation, the whole of creation, all the levels of creation, the planet Earth is big enough, but you take even the physical realm and all of creation, within your real awareness, it's a speck of dust. It is not what it appears to be. It only appears as it's decided to be. There's a difference, you see? So it's up to you to figure it out and stand real with it. But it's more than thinking. So you do get the idea But eventually you want to get the recognition. And again, back to your last question, yes, it becomes real when you demonstrate it, when you step up and have the courage to face it all. Because you want to. You want to have the whole experience. Yeah. So it surpasses the ideas of the old ideas of God, realization, and total awareness. Yeah, these are cute ideas. And what Paul presented too, it was a reference. It was a very good reference, but he mainly related to the gods and consciousness. And that is all created in creation. There is no consciousness in the real universes. It's real. And you're perfectly aware. You see what's taking place. And it has its own language. That's where you perceive, you see. But it's not like here. But you do recognize the impressions of it because that's how awesome it is. And so in the meantime, enjoy creation. Enjoy everything. But at the same time, I would say pivot off the isness because that's why you're here. And you decide to do your part or not. The obstacles will always be there, but again, most people look to the obstacles, don't they? Look at all the issues that are going on with the systems, and especially the political system, which is religion. Religion controls the world. Everything is voodoo in this world, and they created the politics as a offset to their religion because it's all sacrificial. Everything here is sacrifice. That's really what it is. It's all it stemmed from, but they make it look good. And you look at all the issues that are taking place. Well, they create these issues. Did the Indians create issues? No, they work with the natural environment. And so they create issues because they want to keep people distorted and controlled. And so they must keep creating issues. Look at all the bombings and stuff like this and all the things that are going on and the earthquakes and the this and that's and the fracking and just go on, Fukushima and whatever. These were all planned things, the Gulf spill and all that. All that was planned. Everything is planned as it continues the distortion. And you know, they're in a catch-22. They're destroying themselves too. And they're going down on the down and down and down on the evolutionary scale, and they're tap-lining everyone also in the astral realm and sucking their energy. Because you know what? They're desperate and they're afraid. And so here's the challenge of your life to wake up all the way, and that is, will you step up and do something real with a world that's destroying itself? Because many of these individuals, they are desperate. They are looking for a lifesaver. They are looking for something. They really are. Everyone is. We're all in the same life. And this nonsense has gone on long enough. And this is where eventually the yugas self-implode, like Atlantis and all them. Eventually they all self-destructed. And they were in the same situation we are. Religion, politics, scientific nonsense. You know, all of it's dangerous. It has no, you know, the atomic bomb. What is that? You know, I mean, where does that fit? But this is the era we're in. So these obstacles and these potholes, again, it's how you, Charles, and everyone decides to be creative. I like the challenge, whatever comes up. I don't even have to consider it because life is on, whether it's in creation or the isness life is. It is always is. And the boys, they have rehearsed themselves to be always prepared, not unprepared. See, this is what is presented to the public. It's like, hey, just sit back, go on vacation, you know, watch TV, have a few beers, eat potato chips, you know, go to your 9-to-5 boring job, work really hard, get your paycheck, and keep doing the same thing. In other words, they've been rehearsed to be unprepared. And so when things really start to hit the fan, they don't know what to do. What do? They jump in their car, they throw as much stuff as they can, just like you see in the movie, and they get on the freeway with everybody else. Yeah, this is so. You'll see it. You'll see it all the time. Look at all the panics that are being created in the world, and people are desperate. They're being moved from one country to another. Why? Why? This is all purposely done. And guess what? Think about it when you're going to run from here to there or wherever. I see it on the real side too. People are running around, and they don't know where they're going. When you're on that freeway with 100,000 other people in that jam, did you consider where are the bathrooms? You see? They don't show that in the movies, do they? See, they leave that part out. Yeah. So again, you know, what you're doing with the new presentation is you're actually preparing yourself for what's going on here, and also preparing yourself as you go through this life, and to get through it, like you have many times where you forgot you were here and you grew old and unconscious, now you're back, to step out of this life and be okay, and not, you don't have to hang on to all those emotional attachments from relationships and families and all the this and that's. This is why, again, all this imagery shows up when the personal self is ready to go, because it has its own life. And at some point you realize you are not this personal self, just like your car, with all the little gadgets it has and all the little things and the GPS that talks to you, that little lady's voice, that sometimes gives you the wrong directions, etc. Yeah, well, that's the personal self you've created too. It gives you wrong directions all the time. Yeah, we all experience that, and we question ourselves, like, why did I do that? You see? But in the real awareness, when you learn to see, well, you can supersede all that. So it's not about what's taking place in the world or the potholes. We don't have any potholes. I haven't not created any that I know of. And that is that because I focus on the isness, everything I refer to is about the isness, and it's already complete and pure and real. But for the most part, people like to hang on to their distortions. They like to hang on to their religious ideas, political, religious, doesn't matter, it's all the same. They like to hang on to ideas that are restrictions. They feel comfortable being restricted. They don't feel comfortable letting go of their restrictions. They've come to the point where restrictions are good. Just like we're living in the world where, barium, lithium, mercury, all these things are good for you now. Just like in the movie with Woody Allen, Sleeper, smoking cigarettes and GMO chickens that are as big as a house. Hey, these things are all good for you now, you see? And this is a rehearsal to keep the distortion going. So it is a challenge, but fortunate for the world, we are here. We are the real light, and the voice back us. The whole of life backs those that stand real. This is what's so cool. The boys will back you. You just make sense of it. Take the risk. So again, Charles, most people focus on their personal self, their issues, trying to resolve all these things. When you just get up and do something, instead of sitting there watching TV and looking at the house that's a mess or whatever, you just get up and go out and do something. You know what? You forget all that. Just do something. Pretty soon now you feel like cleaning up the house, you see? But while you're in it and laying around, you don't. You don't care. But eventually you do get up. And this is what's demonstrated on the real side. The boys are giving an objective view of each person, also giving certain experiences, because each one of us have come here to do certain things. We've decided that. Just like, when you're in high school, you may decide to go to college. You're already, you might say, thinking ahead, okay? And many people do. It's like, oh, I want to be a doctor. And when I finish high school, I want to go to, college and medical school, whatever. You're already thinking ahead. But also, when the opportunity avails itself, when you're through high school, you might, at that point, change your mind. You might meet someone and decide to get married instead. See, you always have free will. So it's not anything is set in stone. So as we've come through all these lifetimes, and as we've come into this lifetime, we've made certain agreements with ourselves, you might say, that we want to accomplish certain things. But when we get here, we see the terrain is different, and we forgot why we came here. And we get mixed up in what you're talking about, the potholes, or the issues that are created all the time. The issues. I don't listen to the president. The only news I hear is if I see something on Facebook. Facebook is a really good news indicator on your homepage. I mean, everything funny in the world is happening there, and people tell it like it is. 6 o'clock news, that's a good comedy show. That's about it, because it's all distortion. And from Ava likes to report things too, and others, and we discuss these things. And we, again, because the world is happening every day and things are happening, we too want to be able to survive better and position ourselves so we can continue to do what we're doing. But again, realistically, what you've brought up, Charles, to shorten it a little bit here, and that is that No, there's no such thing. These are created things. There becomes a difference. And the boys, they don't care. They're like little kids. You know, they see it for what it is. They see creation for what it is. And, you know, each person can do that too. This is the opportunity that we're presenting. You can see it any way at all. So why not make sense of it to where it creates a benefit for you and everybody else to recognize the is, to where you become self-sufficient. And this is our proposal to the world, is that, you know, we support the all-natural environment supporting us. That's the whole of life. It's just not nature on the earth. It's everything. Yes, we're cool. Yes, thank you for asking, Charles.